everyone, and thank you for joining me. My name is Edie Paczkowski, and I am an Ayesha Bulchandani Intern here at the Frick Collection. This talk is part of our Closer Look series, presented to you by Education at the Frick. Today, I will be sharing with you an in-depth analysis of a 17th century carpet originating from Mughal India, an artwork whose beauty is underscored by geographical journeys, myths, and missing pieces. Together, let's now take a closer look at Carpet with Trees. Carpet with Trees hangs vertically in the center of a third-floor gallery at Frick Madison, the museum's temporary home. When approaching the object, one immediately notices the juxtaposition between the ornate carpet and the mid-century minimalism of the gallery's gray walls and stone floors. This stark contrast invites us in and also helps highlight the three distinct sections that govern our object: the central field, the interior borders, and the exterior border. Within the central field, blossoming fruit trees and willowy cypresses are alternately arranged on a grid, while flowering specimens, such as lilacs and made-up fantasy flowers, decorate the spaces in between. Whether a curled lotus petal or a delicate tulip leaf, every natural motif is detailed with characteristics that make them distinct from one another, even if they are part of a repeated series. This creates an illusion of motion and vitality that seemingly brings the nature depicted on Carpet with Trees to life. This botanical specificity, as well as the grid-like arrangement, evokes the image of a Mughal imperial garden as it would have looked in the 17th century. The Mughal Empire was an Islamic society that flourished in modern-day northern India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Kashmir between the 16th and mid-19th centuries. Known for its military expansion and economic agility, the empire prized itself on demonstrating its political power through the arts, investing in masterpieces such as the Taj Mahal. But it wasn't until the reign of Emperor Shah Jahan from 1628 to 1658 that the Mughal Empire became masters of the garden. By building gardens at the entranceways of royal palaces and embracing perfectly symmetrical compositions, Shah Jahan developed the Mughal garden as a metaphor for paradise on earth, a demonstration of his ability to control and order the natural world. In this vein, the Mughal garden functioned on two levels, from a bird's-eye view as a curated living carpet, and from the ground level as a sensory place of intimacy and cool repose. When considering rugs like Carpet with Trees that were woven during the reign of Shah Jahan, the plush pashmina wool and delicate silk of its warp, weft, and pile manifests the sensory and visual beauty of the real-life Mughal garden, bringing the garden indoors through an artistic representation of an imperial mastery over nature. I would now like to draw your attention to the presence of negative space within the carpet's central field. Looking particularly between these green trees and the flowering trees just right of the center, one can see a dark red section different from the vibrant reds seen elsewhere on the carpet. These darker sections reveal a supportive backing inserted by Nobuko Kajitani, a former textile conservator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, who over a period of 4 years revitalized Carpet with Trees so that it can be continued to be enjoyed by viewers like us today. Some may wonder why the negative spaces were not filled with similar embroideries, and may see these sections as interruptions to the carpet's symmetrical and repeating patterns. But while the pattern may no longer appear complete, I encourage you to think of Carpet with Trees not as a sum of materials and repairs, but as a sum of intangible values and stories. Together, let's now explore the multifaceted narratives present in Carpet with Trees and how these stories survive visibly, both in pashmina pattern and red negative space. Carpet with Trees was most likely commissioned for Emperor Shah Jahan or members of his imperial court. Carpets intended for imperial use were woven in royal factories with only the finest materials, such as pashmina, wool collected from the underbellies of Himalayan goats, and lac, a precious red dye created from an insect of the same name. Carpet weavers worked on vertical looms guided by talims, or weaving guides that specified colors and the numbers of knots and sequences required for a pattern. Despite their incredible skill and technique, royal carpet weavers lived in exploitative conditions and received a small wage for projects that sometimes took up to 15 years to complete. When confronted with such a monumental display of beauty and technique, it is easy to overlook the presence of the weavers responsible for the carpet, whose stories still survive in each pashmina knot and each floral arabesque. When received by the original patron, carpet with trees would have been used for everyday decorative purposes, as well as a symbol of royal authority over the Mughal landscape. The stories imbued in the carpet, along with its use as imperial decoration, changed in 1886, when the manufacturing company, Ziegler & Co., acquired and sold carpet with trees to the Vincent Robinson firm in London. Outside of Mughal India, carpet with trees became subject to exoticization and colonial exploitation. As the carpet traveled across Europe and was displayed in different contexts, dealers spun fanciful tales of pious Muslims cutting scraps from the carpet for their own spiritual benefit in order to account for damage done to the object that would reduce it to 6 times smaller than its original size. Dealers carelessly aligned the carpet with religious sites in order to tempt European buyers, when in fact, the carpet carries no religious meaning. And when it was purchased by Henry Clay Frick in 1919, he viewed carpet with trees as merely an example of high-quality furnishings and was unaware of the rare carpet's Mughal origins. Carpet with trees was then placed under a desk in the enamels room at the Frick mansion, and with it, the stories and livelihoods of the skilled carpet weavers and the Mughal imperial court. Now, in the Breuer building, carpet with trees hangs before us with its journey and the stories of those who once interacted with it, illuminated in the interplays between the original pashmina and the red negative space added centuries later. Let's follow these interactions to the red interior border. White and pink buds at different stages of maturation hang loosely along curved vines, while pointed leaves and lotuses connect the tendrils and create a sense of movement and continuity. The rhythmic formation of these motifs, suspended against the red backdrop, is juxtaposed with the ordered garden depicted in the central field, offering us a more whimsical image of natural abundance and unrestrained beauty. This is highlighted further by the open yellow poppy lying in the center of each S and C curve, the different variations of scalloped petals, something not commonly observed in real poppies, creating a tension between natural reality and floral fantasy. If we look closer at the top middle section of the red border, we can see thin strips and geometric chunks of red negative space. But rather than seeing this border as incomplete, we can view these negative spaces as opportunities to not only recognize the layered history of this object, but also to honor the stories of those who once interacted with it. As we reach the conclusion of this talk, I invite you to look again at carpet with trees, but this time from before the entrance to the gallery. As you enter the space, you will walk between 2 artworks, Paolo Veneziano's Coronation of the Virgin and Gentile da Fabriano's Madonna and Child with Saints Lawrence and Julian. Both the Virgin and the Madonna feature rich depictions of repeating patterns and manipulated fabrics, not only paying homage to the tactile and tessellated carpet they guard, but reminding us of the centuries of trade along the Silk Road and across the Mediterranean. The proximity of Veneziano's and Gentile's works to carpet with trees additionally highlights that Henry Clay Frick's collection is predominantly a Western one. As a connoisseur of European art, Frick's acquisition of carpet with trees suggests his understanding of the object to be merely a functional one, a decorative work that when placed on the floor would only enhance the gravitas of the old masters gracing his walls. Though perhaps ignorant of the masterpiece he had acquired, Frick used carpet with trees as it was intended in Mughal India, as a sensory entryway into rarefied space. With this in mind, I encourage you to ask yourselves, what it means to view a Mughal carpet alongside a Bronzino or a Bellini. How do ideas of multiple authorships and unnamed artisans impact how we view the fine arts versus the decorative arts? And how can we, as viewers, acknowledge and respect carpet with trees as it was intended to be honored in Mughal India? Thank you for taking a closer look with me at Carpet with Trees.